So before life begins, can we already start shaping its destiny? A funny question, right? Yes, we'll be exploring the world of pre-implantation genetic diagnosis today. So, Dr. Ken, what exactly is pre-implantation genetic diagnosis?
When you say before life
Before
begins,
life begins, can we
me-
shape the destiny of the life?
so what I was expecting, I was thinking that we'll be talking about CRISPR, because that is actually the time where we really design and shape
Shape.
the destiny of a life to start.
Wow.
Yes. So I guess that will be a talk for some other day.
Oh, great.
Yes. Pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, which is PGD, it's an advanced form of assisted reproduction technology
Okay.
where you do a genetic study of the embryos to know what they represent, whether or not there are disease conditions that should be avoided, or eradicated, and it shows you the degree of abnormality in an embryo
Okay.
or the presence of disease condition or syndromic condition in an embryo. So it helps you to select the healthy embryo or the desired embryos to be transferred into the uterus of a woman. So it is quite an advanced form of assisted reproduction technology.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what are the main reasons why a couple or an individual should consider PGD?
Oh, quite a number of reasons.
Okay.
When an individual has lot of failure of implantation, that is not attributable to any obvious reason, you may want to consider pre-implantation genetic diagnosis to see whether the embryos are normal genetically in the first place. That's number one reason. Then when you have older people doing assisted reproduction technology with their own gametes,
Okay.
whether a man being too old or the woman being advanced in age with low quality or poor quality of eggs and all of that, you may also want to do as pre-implantation genetic diagnosis to see if the embryos being generated it's in good condition. Where you want to make diagnosis and avoid some interesting or devastating disease conditions like sickle cell disease or sickle cell anemia or cystic fibrosis, or some conditions like that. You may want to do pre-implantation genetic diagnosis to buttress the treatment.
Okay.
For sickle cell, for instance, we see a lot of time where an AS guy gets married to an AS lady. They could have an SS baby. So you may want to do a pre-implantation genetic diagnosis to identify the babies that are SS so they can be avoided. And then the embryos that are normal, then be selected and transferred to the woman. Okay. So that is one reason for doing pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. But of course, as we see a lot in this part of the world, when couples want to select the gender of their babies and they have the means to do that with precision without guessing, IVF with pre-implantation genetic diagnosis is what it should be advised for that. And quite a number of couples do that because all other means of identifying gender or selecting gender, it's based on a lot of probability and guesswork and are not reliable. Only reliable way is pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. Yeah, those are some reasons why some couple you want to advise some couple to do pre-implantation genetic diagnosis.
So how accurate are these pre-implantation genetic diagnosis?
Oh, well, even though the practitioners will tell you that it's not 100%, but most times when the results are produced, the degree of accuracy is 99.99999.
That's already
so you can tell how accurate that is.
Very accurate.
Because you see what it is, you identify what it is. Yes, it may not identify or diagnose every single genetic disease, but the vast majority of genetic disease could be identified, make diagnosis and all of that.
Okay.
pre-implantation genetic
So, but
diagnosis.
in the case of an IVF treatment,
Yeah.
is this compulsory for all persons who are undergoing IVF to? Is it recommended, or is it something that a couple can just pass?
As it is right now, it can't be recommended for everyone doing an IVF treatment cycle because the cost is enormous, you know. So and then the regular people may not have the funds to have this kind of advanced treatment, you know. Even in countries where you have it readily available, it's still not applied to every
everyone.
couple
Okay.
doing assisted reproduction technology. There are reasons why every society deploys that, especially when these services is offered by an insurance or covered by an insurance or under the health scheme of of some countries. So it is not for everyone. There should be a reason. But if it's going to be applied to everyone, then it will make IVF a very interesting thing to see, because then the success rate in IVF would be very high, you know, because most times a good number of embryos are abnormal. And that is why you have a lot of failures in IVF, you know, aside from the fact that the endometrium could also be a problem. But more embryos are abnormal than normal.
Wow.
So, and it's only when PGD is applied that you'll be able to know to make perfect selection. So it is a future that I would like to see, having PGD applied to all IVF treatment. But as it is right now in sub-Saharan Africa, even the regular IVF treatment cannot be afforded, you know, by individuals so easily. Then it's going to be a lot more difficult if PGD would be. And then population and health of the population is also not the premium of our governments. The government is still battling corruption, battling infrastructure or infrastructural development, you know, and government structure and social amenities. So the government doesn't even have money to care for itself. Let alone thinking about pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. And of course, most insurance in Africa considered fertility treatment as luxury, while some other insurance in Western nations consider fertility treatment as premium and priority. Go to Japan, for instance. Go to England. Go to Bulgaria. You know, these countries have a tailing population, and then without population, there is no country.
Yeah.
So their fertility is important. Go to Israel. Fertility is very important. In fact, Denmark at some point gives 2 free IVF for its citizens.
Wow.
The same thing goes in Israel. You know, in England, under the NHS trust, under the NHS and some trusts, some degree of IVF treatments are free.
Interesting.
Exactly. So, but then, even in those places, pre-implantation genetic diagnosis is not
covered
across board.
Okay.
It's only done when it is indicated. So, but in this part of the world, fertility treatment is covered by individuals, it's paid for by individuals. So, making that compulsory to make fertility treatment impossible.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think that PGDs can reduce the rate of miscarriages amongst women?
Exactly.
Okay.
Most miscarriages, for instance, if you take out the role of endometrium in causing of as a cause of miscarriages, which of course is big in this part of the world, because you see, as an intrauterine surgeon, I when I carry out hysteroscopies, I could count in my fingers the number of endometrium that are normal. In fact, members of my teams and those that come for training in our facilities, gynecologists that come for training in facilities, after going through our rigors of hysteroscopies, their perception about the endometrium always changes, because it comes up as one of the main reasons why IVF fails. This is in this part of the world, okay? But then recurrent implantation failure, early miscarriages are a lot because of abnormalities in the embryos. And when embryos are abnormal, pregnancy can't happen. Even if pregnancy happens, it just for a short while, she could have a miscarriage. So you have failed implantation, failed pregnancy, miscarriages, and all of that. So if when a pre-implantation genetic diagnosis is done, for instance, you will see that you will identify the embryos that are bad from the onset, that are not capable of becoming pregnancies. And of course, they are usually more in number than those that are normal. So you extract or exclude the abnormal embryos and you just transfer the normal embryos. That will improve the chance of having a successful IVF treatment.
So for a woman who is undergoing an IVF treatment cycle, how long does it take for these PGDs to be done before the embryos are transferred back to the woman?
All right. Now, the time duration differs for different reasons, okay? If you're doing it in a center that has all facilities, it could be done within the same IVF treatment cycle. So within 3 to 5 days, you could have this procedure done. But because pre-implantation genetic diagnosis is done usually on day 5.
Okay.
Now that's the current timing that is advisable at day 5. Sometimes it requires freezing of these embryos while you're waiting for the results to be available. So it depends on how soon it takes the result to be available. So if the result comes out within that same treatment cycle, you could have an embryo transfer. But if it wouldn't come out within that same treatment cycle, you may have to prepare the woman to have a frozen embryo transfer. So you freeze the embryos while you're waiting for the results of the pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, after which you make selection of the healthy embryos, the normal embryos, and then you could have a transfer. But it's good to note that most embryos that do not implant usually because of genetic abnormalities. And this is what PGD would fish out.
Amazing. So do you think we'd ever get to a point in our society where PGDs become a routine for all IVF treatments?
Well, no. I'm just trying to be practical. I'm just in our society. I'm thinking of this society, this sub-Saharan society.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I think it's impossible.
Wow.
Yeah, because even now, it's not yet possible in European nations where you have most of these things available. Applying IVF, pre-implantation genetic diagnosis for everyone. Where is the funds going to come from? So it's going to be only applicable where you have real reasons to do that. Yes, real reasons to do that. So it's impossible for now. Boy, it's impossible.
Oh, Grace, but there you have it. There you have it. You can actually determine a lot of things about a life before it actually comes into existence with pre-implantation.
But don't end yet.
Oh,
you understand? Don't end yet.
Okay.
Don't end yet. You see, it's good to talk about the future of reproduction.
Okay.
And this is a very important future to me. When it started, it caused a lot of chaos. Okay, assuming you've done this pre-implantation genetic diagnosis and you have selected the healthy embryos, the one we call euploid embryos. Euploid, normal embryos with normal genetic content. You know that these embryos are normal.
Okay.
I'm saying this because of how you started this conversation.
Exactly. I knew we're going to come back to this part.
Yes. I just allowed you to finish. Now this is my time.
All right.
I can't let you go free.
Okay, so let's talk about
the euploid, and now you want to determine the destiny, or you want to affect the expression of that embryo in life. How do I mean? In terms of health, in terms of mental and intellectual capacity, in terms of looks, strength, and other genetic endowments. This is when you can now do it. You will instill whatever genetic code you want into these embryos.
My God.
Exactly. So you could alter the intelligence.
But this is not pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, just to make it clear.
Oh, well, in a way it is.
Okay.
In a way it is. All because right. It's genetic engineering now.
Okay.
Why I said, why your thought led into this is that we use pre-implantation genetic diagnosis to eliminate bad embryos, which will never have become pregnancy. Now you got the ones that can become pregnancy.
Okay.
You can affect how they express in life, how they express themselves in life.
Nice.
That's what I'm saying. Intellectually, in looks, strength, endurance, and other aesthetic characteristics that you want.
So how is this done?
You know, with CRISPR, for instance, you could further make these embryos who are potential lives have the capacity to be resistant to some diseases.
Okay.
Exactly. And then if you find out that there is, for instance, there is cystic fibrosis, a gene for cystic fibrosis, any of the embryos, you could use CRISPR
to take it out,
to excise that gene for cystic fibrosis in this embryo. And cystic fibrosis is a life sentence, a death sentence anyway. You could use it to excise it from these embryos and replace it with healthy gene so that this embryo can express itself in life as a human being without cystic fibrosis.
Wow.
You know, so those are things you could do with CRISPR. If you want to be aesthetic about, for instance, we know that Jennifer Lopez, for instance, took out her breast. Sorry, I'm not sure which name I'm mentioning now. Is it Angelina Jolie? Angelina Jolie or something. One of the celebrities.
Okay.
Let's get it right. In case I mentioned the wrong name, apologies. But it's information that is in public domain. Yeah. Because she had BRCA genes, which are the genes for cancer of the breast. Yeah. You know, her breasts were taken out as an adult. But from conception, you could take out those genes from the genome.
Wow.
Yes, and CRISPR is what can do that for you.
So you can actually avoid cancer before the child even comes into existence. This
so
is
like
incredible.
Those of us that have genes for diabetes, my mom is diabetic, you understand? My mom is diabetic. And all of these things are genetic. Yes. Even though it's an adult onset type 2 diabetes, it is genetic. So I probably have the genes. You understand? Yes. So if I was created or generated as an embryo, you know, you could do a gene mapping in me and take out that by CRISPR so that I'm born without risk for having diabetes in life. Now I'm at risk. You understand? I won't forget to tell you the story of a couple in China who were both HIV positive.
Okay.
And were concerned about the health of their baby that they're going to have. They have an IVF. They had an IVF rather. And babies were created or generated by IVF from their eggs and sperms. And then the CD4 cells receptors were modified using the CRISPR technology.
Wow.
So that these babies cannot be infected by HIV. These are superhuman in real life. They are alive now. Everybody frowned at this. I mean, the scientific world, the China, the ethics in China frowned. The doctor, embryologist involved was in prison for 3.5 years. But he has been released and freed and celebrated as a hero of our time, hero of CRISPR. So there are a lot of disease conditions that are begging for cure, for elimination. And then this is one way you could eliminate them.
From the human race.
Sickle cell itself is one that needs to be eliminated.
It should be eliminated.
And of course, if you go to the point of talking about endowment, beauty, you know, strength, muscle bulk. Like I'm slim, for instance. I don't have muscles. Even though I've been exercising to muscles, I refusing to come.
Well,
you know, there are myostatin genes, for instance, that stop muscles from growing. You know, so if you deactivate mine, so it can make my muscles to grow. And these are all the things that can be done to the human.
At the stage of an embryo. This is incredible.
And then the human will have a different expression. So when you say you can determine the destiny of an embryo, this is what struck me. And this is actually the place we're going to right now. The world may not like to hear it, but we're heading there anyways.
We are heading there.
You know, gene for intelligence is another. Yes. And so you could create an embryo with a genetic endowment to be intelligent as a child when he's born or when she's born. Tell me intelligence is not important.
It is.
It's super important because intelligence it's an ingredient for national and international development. Improves your gross domestic product and output and happiness. improve and increase invention and all of that, And so there are a lot of things about the human that are not desirable. You could just take them out, and make and affect the destiny. And of course, you see that even criminality, has been traceable to human genes.
Wow.
In areas where crime is dominant. You could use it to take that to affect crime output, crime rate in a society. I'm serious. I'm not kidding.
Interesting.
The documents are there. The researches are all there. And incidentally, I'm a member of that society.
Wow.
You understand? And we have our meeting yearly.
Wow.
Where all of this. So as we speak, sickle cell disease now has a cure. And the cure is through this CRISPR that I'm talking, even in adult life.
Did you say even? I thought we were just at the point of the embryos.
Now we have gone to adult life.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yes, it's a gene therapy, and blacks, Negro raised living in Western nations with sickle cell disease have gotten cure. You understand? And are getting cure. The British government is using the CRISPR to treat and cure sickle cell patients.
Tell us something.
They don't have sickle cell as Caucasians.
Yes.
It's immigrants. You're immigrants, right?
Yeah,
that's what they are called.
Yes,
immigrants. That's what they're called. We that are there, that the cure of all of that. We need that here. So this is the future we're looking at. And we are headed to that future. Nothing is stopping it. The question is, we need ethics. We need who would define what is acceptable
and what is
not acceptable. I agree with that. So that everything can have control.
Moderation.
Have you heard about military guys whose eyes have been wired and genetically engineered to see in the dark with vision and sight like infrared sights?
This is crazier than I thought.
So you can imagine Nigerian gorilla. Then Nigeria, we used to brag ourselves that we have gorilla soldiers.
Yes.
That have not finished Boko Haram yet. We have gorilla soldiers who are trained in warfare. You understand? But how can you fight in the dark, for instance, when you're fighting against somebody who can see even in the dark with infrared sights? Because the sight have been genetically manipulated.
It means we are going to a world where we'll have superhumans. The things that we see in movies are gradually becoming a reality.
No, it is reality.
Oh, well, that's great. So
that reality is here.
The reality is here.
Yes, thanks to the inventors of CRISPR. And gene modifying or editing technology. Yeah.
That's the future we're looking at.
That's the future we're looking at.
That's great.
And we're already stepping into it. One